You'd like to see what England's going to do. We are very confused with how they've come to this World Cup. Hopefully they'll change things around. They play tomorrow. They take on Sri Lanka, and this match is happening in Bengaluru. Well, England has had a World Cup which none of us can make sense of. They had that big upset against Afghanistan, and then they had a match which they would just want to totally erase from their minds. 229 runs, if I'm not mistaken. So they are coming very low in confidence, but they're almost like, well, wounded lions, because they would want to come back stronger. And well, Sri Lanka, on the other hand, they've come from that win against Netherlands. Not very comprehensive, but they've still managed to get past the finish line. DK, what do you see happening tomorrow?
Interestingly, England start the game tomorrow as the team that is slightly lesser confident. You know, from the 11 over Sri Lanka, and from the 11, obviously Reece Topley is out of the tournament itself, and he's been their best bowler. So you know that is a big miss. They are going to have to play either Sam Curran or Chris Woakes, one of them for sure, because they will go for experience, and most likely it could be Sam Curran, and he actually has not been bowling that well. I have a strong feeling they'll bring in Moeen Ali as well. So even though it's a small ground, I would like to see them bring in Moeen Ali, because Sri Lanka have a couple of left-handers, they need to deal with it, and most importantly, they need the batting, and they will choose between Liam Livingstone and Moeen Ali. What has flabbergasted me, just like what Joyda said, is they've always had this template of batting deep, and they always like their all-rounders, and that's been their success mantra. You do bat deep, and hence they start with a bang. They keep batting through the middle with a high tempo, and they set the standards as to how white ball cricket should be played. A couple of matches here and there, and they've made a few choices where you're going, wow, you know, you had 7 David Willys coming, so are you sure about it? And I think they will go back to the tried and trusted formula where they back their all-rounders. They have some serious experience, and a lot of players who have playing this World Cup have won ICC tournaments. They'll have to go back and draw a lot of energy from that. Their batting is look completely off color, very, it looks a unit which is completely devoid of confidence. So they will need one of their big players to stand up and say, hey, we are going to be counted this World Cup. Because I can tell you one thing, if England start getting into rhythm, we'll get an even stronger feeling than what we get about Australia. That's the kind of talent pool they have and the firepower they have, because when they get going, they're a very scary team. We saw how they demolished us in the T20 World Cup in Australia. Like, they smashed us. And that's the kind of team they are, a very fearful unit to play up against. And I would love for them to, you know, start well tomorrow and have a terrific game. Not that I want Sri Lanka to struggle, but I'm just saying that they are a team which has the potential to run for the title and run hard. And if that doesn't happen, it will be a World Cup which will be in many ways depleted. I mean, let's say a World Cup that is probably not having the best teams vying for that top 4.
Joyda, I remember England, when they came into India, Bairstow was complaining that the flight took 38 hours to land into India. It almost feels like the team hasn't come to India, because it's just not the team that anyone expected this kind of a performance from.
I totally agree with you. They've looked tentative. Most importantly, they've gone away from what made them successful. That is the big problem. The template of saying bat deep, therefore bat with confidence, bat fearlessly, because you have lots of players. If you're going to bat David Willey at 7, that's not going to happen. And their icons have not got runs. For them to win, Jos Buttler needs to get runs. And Jos Buttler not getting runs, it really puts a lot of pressure. You know, Bairstow has not got as many runs as they want to. So after that, and I feel that they're trying to find a way to make Harry Brook play. At this point in time, really, I think if you look at all the teams, their model was actually all-rounders. So they had Liam Strang, they had Sam Curran, they had Chris Woakes, they had Moeen Ali. First they dropped Moeen Ali, then they dropped the other 3. They have to bring back at least 2-3 of their all-rounders, otherwise their batting order does not make sense. And if they're looking to their bowling, it's not that the new bowlers other than Reece Topley has done anything for them. Now Reece Topley is injured, so it's not even there, you know.
You know, also in defense of Jos Buttler and Matthew Mott, their coach, why their all-rounders were successful is because their primary skill they was doing very well. Like if you take Woakes, he was bowling well. Sam Curran is bowling great at the death. If you take Livingstone, he was batting well. Moeen Ali was always giving you enough. This tournament, the primary skills of these players have not come to the fore. Liam Livingstone has had an ordinary tournament. Chris Wokes has looked completely off colour. Sam Curran has been very ordinary by the standards that he set for himself. Mark Wood hasn't bowled great. So, all the bowlers are going for runs. So, as a captain, you're thinking, who is that guy who's going to give me some sort of balance and some sort of, decorum when in through the middle? And, they haven't found that bowler. Rishi Topley was the guy up top, but even he is injured now. And poor guy gets injured quite a bit. So, they are stuck. Bairstow not getting runs up top. Root got a couple of 50s. Malan got 100. But nobody other than that actually have really lit up this tournament. Harry Brook got a 50 and he's batted well. But, I do agree with they have to make a couple of hard choices. One that might be against the grain for the moment, but I think that needs to be taken for tomorrow's game.
Well, let's have a look at Sri Lanka's squad because they also have a whole lot of injuries and a whole lot of new people coming in. Shanaka is out, Patirana is out, Joyda, your favourite, comes into the squad, Angelo Matthews is in. But Sri Lanka also have a lot of questions they want to answer because, yes, they won against Netherlands, but not comprehensively. After having them 91 for 5, they couldn't finish off the tail.
Yeah. Most of their questions are to their doctors. Who's fit, who's unfit, who's fit. And this has been the story of Sri Lanka, unfortunately, since the Asia Cup. They haven't had their players. I mean, if you now look at it, 6 of their top players are not playing for some reason or the other, between Hasaranga, Shanaka, Madhushanka. I mean, so many of them are injured, Chamira, so many of them are out. It is difficult, but they've battled through. And they've battled through. I thought their last win was a character win because first what happened was they had Netherlands on the back foot, then they gave away that big partnership, then they went 3 down with about 170 still to go and still made it. So I think what Sri Lanka has done throughout this tournament and even in the Asia Cup is shown a lot of character. Now, the interesting part of it is they've got back a player like Angelo Matthews, who's a very interesting personality. I mean, again, either you love him or you hate him. But he's a very divisive character in Sri Lankan cricket. I mean, there are people who swear by Angelo Matthews, they don't. But they're probably at the stage in their tournament where they say, we have nothing to lose. With this kind of injury, let's get him back. And I find it fascinating because in the last 3 years, he's played 3 one-day international matches. So, I mean, but yet he is a very big man in Sri Lankan cricket. So he's there. Yesterday, I think he's made a statement saying he's prepared to bowl as well. So yeah, that'd be very interesting.
He's an exciting character. You can't take that away. He's
an exciting character. Even in the previous World Cup, if you remember, he hit a century when everyone thought that he's not the player that he's supposed to be looking like, or he hit a century. So he's always come back with a vengeance. And there are players who do that very well, When you drop them, when they come back, Chris Gayle was like that. You drop him, he'll come back, he'll smash you.
He's talking about the RCB KKR shift there. I know. He was in RCB there. Or rather the other way around. He was in KKR. They didn't retain him and he went to RCB, and man, did he play a knock against KKR. Joyda would have been in the great seat watching it and thinking, wow, that's a mistake maybe that I made. But just sorry about what I'm going to say, but just to say about how confused is probably the word that I'll use for England. We saw videos of Jofra Archer training and all that. So Rishi Topley gets injured. You're thinking, wow, okay, Jofra Archer is in, and suddenly they bring in Bryden Carr. So Jofra Archer has been there in India. He's training. You got the feeling that he'll be ready at the start, but he's still not ready. He's still travelling, but they've got another replacement from Durham, which is a cold place. Anyway, moving on to Sri Lanka, I guess.
Well, about Archer, I think not only England fans, a lot of Mumbai fans are wondering when he's ever going to play.
Exactly. Look, and if he's not fit enough, why is he your travelling reserve?
Yes.
There must be a reason. The reason travelling reserve, they don't say he's our guest artist or something. They say he's your travelling reserve, which reserve means if somebody goes out, I come in. It's like the famous 1986 where Manoj Prabhakar was bought in as a reserve and Madan Lal was playing counties. They picked him up and played him instead. Of course, they ended up winning, so it didn't matter to anybody. But that's the point, that decisions like this confuse not only the people who are us in the studio, but also their fans. That then why did you take Jofra Archer? That's everyone will ask that question. Unless you want, MI has told him to give him a good run in India, there's no other reason to take him there.
I think that he is injured and he was on his rehab. They were hoping that he'll get fit, but when this opportunity came, they must have tested him. He's still not ready. I think that could be the only one, but it just looks a bad picture. That's all.
Yeah, it looks not a good look.